The New York Islanders earned a solid 5-1 win over the Arizona Coyotes. We have our key takeaways, plus some honors and a milestone for Mathew Barzal. And we have a special preview of Saturday's game against the Vegas Golden Knights with Chris Gawlik of Locked On VGK. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Friday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, send us an email at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss what's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X, formerly Twitter, at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all season long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game, so join me for some instant insight and analysis. Well, a solid win for the New York Islanders, 5-1 over the Arizona Coyotes, and again, lots of good things to take away, but let's get rid of the shaky things first. And that had to be the second period. It was just not a good 20 minutes of hockey. In the first period, the Islanders really were the better team for nearly the entire 20 minutes. They kind of were dominant. They had a 2-0 lead. And then in the second period, Mike Riley takes a cross check. Cal Clutterbuck a slash. You had about an 8-second 5-on-3 or 9-second 5-on-3. They don't give up a goal on the 5-on-3, but then the only Arizona goal of the game comes on that power play. And just for most of the second period, it was Ilya Sorokin kind of bailing the Islanders out as they were just thoroughly outplayed for that 20-minute stanza. But here's the good news. We talked about the first period, that the Islanders were dominant, but entering the third period, up by 1 goal, 2-1. It's a close game. How many times have we seen the Islanders blow a 2 or 3 goal lead in the third period? Clearly, the momentum had shifted to the Arizona Coyotes in the middle stanza, but the Islanders come out in the third. Anders Lee with a goal. Less than a minute later, Julien Gauthier with a goal, and the route is on, and they win it 5-1. A power play goal in this one. That's encouraging. Lots of little things that I really liked about this game, at least in the first and third period. This was a very solid effort all the way around. And look, a couple of lineup changes, obviously. Sebastian Aho back in the lineup because Robert Bortuzzo now on IR, as everydayers know we mentioned on yesterday's show. So Aho back on the ice, and then Matt Martin out there on the ice. Hudson Fasching taking a seat, so the identity line was reunited. Very little doubt as to why. Liam O'Brien is one tough customer for the Arizona Coyotes. And basically, Lane Lambert wanted Matty Martz out there in case Liam O'Brien wanted to take any liberties with some of the Islanders players. And basically, he tried at one point to go after Scott Mayfield, but the Islanders were well ahead at that point in the third period. And Mayfield, of course, just coming back from a couple of injuries, he just kind of laughed and skated away. So kudos to for Scott Mayfield, rather, for knowing when it's the right time to drop the gloves or answer a guy trying to stir something up, and knowing when that'll only hurt your team and possibly hurt yourself after you missed a couple of stints due to assorted injuries. So Mayfield showing a little veteran poise there. Oh, by the way, Semyon Varlamov also not in the lineup. Ken Appleby acting as the backup. Ilya Sorokin really played a strong game, 25 saves and 26 shots. And for the most part, he really bailed them out of some difficult situations. So, again, overall, liking what I'm seeing from this team, a little balance going on here, and the top line really connecting. Bo Horvat, 2 goals and an assist. Mathew Barzal, a pair of helpers. Anders Lee, a goal. When that line is clicking, it is tough to really slow them down, and the offense for the team really clicks. Noah Dobson, what more can you say about him? 2 assists and a +3. And, surprise, surprise, leading all Islanders players with 25:09 of playing time. So Dauber getting the job done. And if you want an unsung hero of the game, how about Mike Riley? Mike Riley had a goal. He was a +2 and led the Islanders with 6 shots on goal. And, the identity line got a little bit of a charge being reunited. 5 hits each for Cal Clutterbuck and Casey Cizikas. Again, you kind of get the point that this was a team effort that really everybody kind of contributed and did their job, and it was just good to see. As far as the hero and the GOAT of the game, I got to go with Bo Horvat as the hero. He had 2 goals to lead the team, 3 points to lead the team, 3 shots on goal, and was a +2. So he narrowly edges out a couple of other teammates for that. Go to the game. Boy, that's a tough one. I'm going to stick with the penalty kill just because, they gave up another goal. Not a lot that Sorokin could have done about that one, but you really want to see this team straighten out the PK before it really costs them. Oh, yeah. We've been talking a lot about J.G. Pageau and what he's done in the faceoff circle lately, everydayers. How about this? 16 faceoffs. He wins 13. That's 81% for Pageau, and it's good to see him, again, doing those little things that you need from a third liner to help the Islanders win hockey games. So, you had balance. You had 2 periods where the Islanders were dominant. And to me, most importantly, in the third period, you shut the opposition down. And hey, look, Mullet Arena, which is a college arena, what does it seat? About 4,500 fans. Got to be great to be at a game there. But according to the broadcast and a few people who I know who were there, out of the 4,400 people, probably about 1,000 Islander fans in attendance for this game. And, that just was great to see. And you could hear the Let's Go Islander chants. Nice to see Islander fans traveling well, being vocal, and turning a road game not quite into a home game, but, pretty close. And that was encouraging. So good night overall. You banked the 2 points. You now have 3 points in this road trip. Got to get at least 1 more point to have a 500 road trip. And look, it's Saturday against Vegas. It's a 10 p.m. Eastern time start. And don't forget, you can listen to every moment of this game with the Islanders' hometown radio broadcast on SiriusXM. Just go to the SXM app and do a search for Islanders. And, we will preview that game a little later in the show. We've got a lot more to get to. Big day for Mathew Barzal. He gets some honors and a milestone all in the same day. So that was good. We'll talk about that. Plus, we will have Chris Gawlik of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights join us to preview the game on Saturday. That'll be in our third segment. And oh yeah, our Islanders birthday of the day, a guy who is more known as a Washington Capital or a Montreal Canadien, but was briefly an Islander, acquired at the trade deadline, only played 10 regular season games for the Isles. But let's see if you can guess who that is. He also played 5 playoff games that year. We've got all that and a whole lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And the app is so easy to use. There's so many ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. You could find bets in their new Explore tab, or you can go to the Parlay Hub. It's the best way to find popular parlays and a lot more. And look, you got the NFL, you've got the college football championship, the NBA, college basketball, and of course the NHL. Check out the odds on FanDuel for the Islanders and Golden Knights on Saturday. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. What a great day for Mathew Barzal. Got to give him a whole lot of credit. The NHL announcing one player from each team who will be, the first group in the league. So 16 Eastern Conference players announced today, one from each team. And the Islanders representative is Matt Barzal. And Barzy, I wouldn't have picked Barzal, even though he is leading the team in scoring with 37 points coming into last night, even though he has really taken his game, along with Bo Horvat this year, to another level. I'm very happy with Barzy, but, well, we'll talk about who I would have gone with in just a few minutes. But congratulations. I can't say Barzy doesn't deserve it, but if I had to pick one Islander player, it wouldn't have been Mathew Barzal. Just saying. He would have been probably my second choice. But Barzy getting the honor, and there will be 12 more players added by fan vote. So go online, check it out. I believe NHL.com is where you go to vote. And let's see if we can get at least one other Islanders player to participate in the All-Star Weekend festivities. And, this year, All-Star game, they're going to do it a little differently. They're going back to having captains and choosing sides. So even if there is another Islanders player on the team, let's say Ilya Sorokin gets voted in by the fans, there's no guarantee that he and Mathew Barzal would necessarily even be on the same team. And I get the publicity for the All-Star game and having the captains pick sides because it's an event and it makes news and people will be on social media. Oh, why did he pick this guy? He should have picked that guy. And, you could talk about that till you're blue in the face. And I understand why they do it. But as a fan, having, players on my favorite team be going against each other in the All-Star game, it's harder to figure out, hey, who do I root for? Am I rooting for an individual player? Am I rooting for my favorite player's team. If two different Islanders are going up against each other, who do I pull for? Okay, this should be my biggest problem in life. I get it. But I prefer having, just all of my guys from my team on the same team, whether it's representing the division or the Eastern Conference or whatever it is. I just think that's better for the fans. But this is what the NHL is doing. I understand why. And we'll see how it works out this year. They're always trying to find ways to kind of spice up the All-Star game, and we'll see whether or not they're able to do it. The other milestone for Matt Barzal, he had 2 assists in this game. That gives him 400 and 401 career points. So 115 goals, 286 assists, 401 career points for Mathew Barzal in 457 games. So congratulations to Barzy for reaching that milestone again. He definitely, deserves it. And you get the feeling that in the near future, you'll have, hopefully if he stays healthy next year, you get to 500 career points and you just keep climbing from there. Mathew Barzal getting that milestone last night in Arizona. The guy who I think, however, if I were choosing who I would pick as the Islanders All-Star representative, and again, you got to take all of these with a grain of salt because they're trying to put together players from a whole bunch of different positions. So, you need a certain number of defensemen and a certain number of forwards and a certain number of goalies and what have you. But I would have definitely gone with Noah Dobson. I just think Dauber has really taken his game to a different level and that he deserves to be the Islanders All-Star representative. Like I said, I cannot go, you can't go wrong with Mathew Barzal, but Dobson, to me, just doing that much better. I mean, almost a point a game before last night, and now with the 2 assists, he's back to a point a game, 38 points in 38 games. He's helping on the power play, which has been much better this year. That's encouraging. I mean, 13 power play assists for Noah Dobson this year. Defensively, he's better. He's been leading the team in block shots, which is not something you would expect necessarily from Noah Dobson. I would have gone with Dauber, but I have no objection, really, with Mathew Barzal being named the Islanders All-Star, first Islanders All-Star representative. And we'll put up a poll to see what you think about that. And, let us know on YouTube. Go to our YouTube page and you can check it out there. We have got more to get to on today's show. We're going to be joined. It's not a crossover episode, but it's a crossover segment. Chris Gawlik of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights was nice enough to join me a little earlier on Thursday to help preview Saturday's game. So instead of me previewing it, you'll hear it from someone who follows the Golden Knights all season long and does a great job of it, I must say. So definitely we will have that, plus our Islanders birthday of the day and a whole lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. It's almost the halfway point in the season, Islander fans, and the Islanders are in the thick of the playoff hunt. But regardless of where we are in the standings, I want to remind you, you could win big playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Barzal or McDavid or McKinnon will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Islander fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL, one word. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, well, we're going to now have Chris Gawlik of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights join us to preview Saturday's game against Vegas. Again, that's a 10 o'clock Eastern time start. You can hear every minute of this game with the Islanders' hometown radio broadcast on Sirius XM on the SXM app. Just do a search for Islanders. Here's Chris Gawlik. So the Islanders on Saturday head to Vegas to take on the defending Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights, and this gives us an opportunity to welcome into the show the co-host of Locked On VGK, Chris Gawlik, to talk a little bit about the Vegas Golden Knights. And Chris, it's been a little bit of a struggle lately. What's going on in Vegas right now?
Struggle is a good word. I mean, you got struggle, you got injuries, you got poor play. You have questions about the goaltending situation. I think I covered most of them, but there's probably more that I'm forgetting. It's been tough sledding, and I think the biggest thing Vegas Golden Knights fans are thankful right now is the fact that they banked a lot of points in October and about midway through November. So it's helping the Golden Knights get through this tough time, but it's not getting any easier as I'm sitting here at the arena about to watch the Florida Panthers come in and possibly have their way with the boys. We'll see.
What has been different? I mean, you mentioned injuries. Which injuries do you think have been the biggest difference makers?
Shea Theodore is people want me to say Aiden Hill, but Shea Theodore is the driver of the team almost in a way. So first you start with the breakout and things like that. Shea Theodore is very good at that first clean breakout pass, that pass that keeps defensemen in the league for a long time to come. But it's not just about the breakout pass. Shea Theodore can be a one-man breakout and take the puck out into the neutral zone all by himself, turning a nothing play into an odd man rush. You have his loss on the power. But he was almost at a point-per-game pace right before his injury. I had been talking about him as a dark horse Norris candidate. And the reason I say it like that is because when the season started, he was 150-1 to win the Norris on some of the various websites out there. And then his odds were down to 75-1 right before the injury. So it's still a long – I mean, it's not going to happen now, but point being, he was at that caliber that was getting noticed, not just, amongst us journalists and, reporting type people, but in the sports books as well.
So who are some of the players that Islander fans should be aware of heading into this game? I mean, obviously, this is still a loaded team, even if they are struggling. Who would you start with as far as that's concerned?
I mean, everyone out east hates this name, but I'm going to start with Jack Eichel. 40 points so far, just literally within the last 20 minutes of local time here in Vegas, named to the All-Star game. So that's certainly exciting news for Jack as he gets to go to the All-Star game in Toronto, just a couple short hours away from Buffalo. So, it's Golden Knight fans like reminding the Sabres about Eichel's success. Mark Stone is still doing Mark Stone things, just leading this team on and off the ice. Logan Thompson is most likely the goalie you guys will end up seeing, as Aiden Hill is still coming back from injury. You got some youngsters in the lineup as well, Pavel Dorofeev. Just today, Grigory Denisenko, but basically a point per game at the AHL level, will be dressing in place of Keegan Kolesar, who's out tonight due to illness Thursday here in Vegas.
Yeah, should be interesting to see how he does when thrust into the lineup. And what concerns you most about the Islanders heading into this matchup?
Historically, I look at the Islanders as a strong defensive team. Kind of going back to Trotz was not Trotz.
Trotz.
Who was Trotz? It was Trotz. Okay. Kind of going back to that side. I know it's not necessarily the same team, but you have that kind of suffocating defense, East Coast, just clog up the blue line, force the teams outside. into low danger hockey. Kind of like what the Flyers do, kind of that same type of hockey. So a boring game, but there's nothing boring about the game at all, if that makes sense.
I totally hear what you're saying. I mean, they're playing a slightly different style now as far as being a little bit more offensive minded. The Golden Knights will have the last change. Is there a particular matchup you think the coaching staff wants to address in this game?
I mean, with all the injuries right now, you're going to see as many plus circumstances as you can for the Golden Knights to get the top line of Eichel, and now Mark Stone's been moved off of that line. Jonathan Marchessault moved back up. So you'll certainly see Cassidy trying to utilize that, and obviously to put them against your third line would be the most optimal circumstance, because the third line is always the line that, at least in Vegas right now, and a lot of teams, it kind of lacks identity, so to speak, where they're trying to find that way, and that's usually a trait of all third line teams in the NHL. So that's what Cassidy will do his best to do, but, without William Karlsson's another key injury to the Golden Knights right now. He will not be playing in Saturday's game against the Islanders as well. So Shea Theodore, Aiden Hill, William Karlsson, and then some defensive reinforcements who have been doing a good job for the Golden Knights are out too. So it feels like January hockey right about now.
What do you think the Golden Knights will do as far as adjusting their style of play with all of these key players out of the lineup?
The easiest answer is simplify, better puck management. Don't go for the perfect pass. Fire shots early and often, but definitely taking care of home first. The Golden Knights defensively have not been doing well. Logan Thompson has been shaky. He's had some very good games, like last week against the LA Kings, a game that the Golden Knights weren't necessarily favored to do well in. And then you saw his effort, and I won't say effort like he's not trying, he's working his butt off, but just the results have not been there. Let in a couple of rather poor goals in the Winter Classic. Rewinding to before the LA game last week against the Anaheim Ducks, a few of those goals, as we say in the business, are goals that they would like to have back.
No question about that. Talk to me about how you think the Golden Knights will handle Ilya Sorokin as the Islanders goalie.
There we go. He's having a heck of a year, isn't he?
Well, I mean, he's facing a lot of shots, but he's still a very good goalie, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, shoot early and often right now, especially given the fact that the Golden Knights have all these injuries. If they can crowd the net, get some rebounds. I mean, the Golden Knights aren't getting a lot of dirty goals right now. Ivan Barbashev just needs to plant his butt in front of the crease while Eichel does his thing. Marchessault obviously can snipe really well. Mark Stone is playing really well from the buffer position when he gets to that area. Chandler Stevenson can be a good driver on that second line, but at the end of the day, simplify. More pucks to the net. They may not be quality shots, but you got to find a way to hit that traffic. Something interesting Cassidy has said is you're trying to not shoot the puck high sometimes. You're actually shooting for sticks. You're aiming for the traffic in front of the nets, so you get that deflection. So you take away that millisecond of reaction time for a goalie. People don't understand how hard it is to stop a deflected puck that's already coming at you at 80, 85, 90 miles an hour.
No question about that. So what, in your mind, are the keys to victory for Vegas on Saturday?
Keep it simple, good defense, puck management. If they can do those things, don't be afraid to win a 2-1 game or a 3-2 game. The Golden Knights are struggling in these track meet games that turn into 5-4, 6-4. Oh, and here's the biggest key to the game. The Golden Knights have to avoid being on the 5-on-6 at the end of the game. I'll tell you right now, Gil, if the Islanders are trailing by 1 goal with 2 minutes left and the goalie comes out, go find a sports book that'll let you bet that the Islanders are going to tie the game up. Because the Golden Knights, for lack of a better term, have been terrible on the 6-on-5 situations at the end of games.
I'll give you one in return. If the Golden Knights pull their goalie and the Islanders are ahead by 1 goal late in the game, The Islanders do not have an empty net goal yet this year. They're the only team in the NHL that have not scored an empty net goal. So
that answered my question. I was going to say Vegas, I don't think has one either, but I guess they do.
they have at least one. Yeah.
Maybe one of the teams will be in that spot where they pull the goalie and they go to pass the puck back and get like an own goal or something like that.
Maybe. We'll take it. It counts either way. Chris, your prediction for the game real quick.
3-2 Islanders.
All right. Chris Gawlik of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. Why don't you tell my viewers and my listeners where they could find you on social media and where they could find the podcast?
Yep, you can find me at TD Chris G. That's like touchdown, TD Chris G. Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. We record 6 days a week now. Monday through Friday is me and Tony Cordasco doing our thing. And then Saturday, especially if you have children out there looking for something that, a show with younger kids, me and my son Christopher host Locked On Golden Knights on Saturdays. That's a YouTube exclusive on Saturday mornings.
Awesome. Chris, thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy the game tonight.
Awesome. Have a great one. Good. Looking forward to it.
Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, we're a day early here, but Saturday will be the 48th birthday of former Islanders winger Richard Zednik, the native of Slovakia, a 10th round pick of the Washington Capitals back in 1994, came over to the NHL in the 95-96 season and became a regular by 97-98, later played for the Canadiens and then the Capitals again before joining the Islanders at the trade deadline in 06-07, played 10 games with the Islanders, had a goal and 3 points in those games and did help the Islanders reach the playoffs in 2007. Then he was off to play 2 more years for the Florida Panthers before playing in the KHL and then in Sweden and then in Slovakia. Zednik played in 745 NHL games, 200 goals, 379 points, and 563 penalty minutes. He had 16 goals and 26 points in 48 playoff games. One of his better games as an Islander, March 20th, 2007 in Tampa. Islanders and the Lightning in this one. Rick DiPietro and Johan Holmqvist are the goalies in this road game. Islanders fell behind 2-0, but early in the second period, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Richard Zednik getting his 7th goal of the year and his only goal as an Islander, Randy Robitaille with the lone assist. That made it 2-1. The Islanders then took a 3-2 lead late in the second on a goal by Miro Shatan, which Zednik did set up along with Viktor Kozlov. In overtime, though, the Islanders end up falling in this one by a score of 4-3. But for Richard Zednik, a goal and an assist, he was a +2, and he had 2 shots on goal in this game. So Richard Zednik only briefly an Islander, but he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers will be back Monday. We'll have our key takeaways from the game against the Vegas Golden Knights. So make sure you join us for that. And should be an exciting game. And as you heard Chris say, we may be catching VGK at the right time. And hopefully we'll have some more injury updates on Semyon Varlamov. He is officially listed as day-to-day. They have not put him on IR yet, but we'll see what ends up happening in the future. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. And, of course, let's go Islanders.